never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this, but here I am, trying to piece together what's real and what's just her bullshit. Jennifer and I have been married for 10 years. We met in college, built a life, had our daughter Emily, who's now 12. On paper, everything looked solid. We had our fights, sure, but I trusted her. Or at least I thought I did. Lately, though, she's been acting weird. She's more irritable, snapping at me over small things and avoiding me for days at a time. I'd ask what's wrong and she'd brush it off, say she's stressed with work or Emily's school stuff. I didn't push because I figured everyone's got their moments. But then I noticed she was hiding her phone more, locking it when she thought I wasn't looking, and there were these little lies about where she was going, who she was texting. Nothing huge at first, but enough to make me suspicious. The biggest red flag came last weekend. Emily had a lacrosse tournament out of town, and she was supposed to be with the team. She'd been excited about it, talking about the players and the coaches, especially Coach Ryan. But she came back different, distant, defensive, kinda bitchy about everything. She'd snap at Emily, tell her to shut up when Emily tried to talk about the game. I didn't know what to make of it. She was acting like she was hiding something, but I couldn't prove anything. Then this morning, I decided to check her phone, just a quick look. I know, I shouldn't have, but I was desperate for answers. I found a string of messages with Ryan, the coach, and they weren't just friendly. There was flirting, a lot of it. Flirty texts, cheeky emojis, even some that clearly implied something more. I saw her calling him babe once and he responded with "can't wait to see you again." My stomach just dropped. That's when I realized the truth. She'd been lying about the trip. She wasn't with her team, she was with him. That's when everything clicked, the late nights, the secretive phone calls, her odd attitude. She'd been cheating on me during Emily's tournament, right in the middle of her supposed family time. I couldn't believe it. I felt sick, angry, betrayed. I had to confront her. But I didn't want to do it just yet. I needed to gather my thoughts, process what I'd found. And now I'm sitting here trying to figure out what to do next. Do I blow it all up? Do I confront her and risk everything? Or do I keep quiet, hold it all in, and pretend I don't know? Part of me just wants to end it right there, but I know better. This kind of betrayal doesn't just go away. It sticks with you like a bad scar. I don't have a clear plan yet, but I know one thing: I'm done being naive. I see her for what she is now. Whatever happens next, I'm not going to be blindsided again. So, I decided I wasn't going to let her brush this off, not without a serious conversation. I waited until Emily was out with some friends and Jennifer was in the kitchen, pretending to be busy with some bullshit, probably trying to act like everything was normal. I took a deep breath, tried to keep my voice steady, and asked her about the messages. She looked at me, eyes narrowing, and for a second I thought she'd lie her way out of it. She's good at that. Her whole attitude has always been, "I'm the queen, you're just the idiot who married me." She's not stupid, and she's definitely got a mouth on her that can spit out the most ridiculous lies. But this time she froze. Her face went pale for a second, then she started with the usual bullshit: "You're reading into things. It's just harmless flirting, and it's nothing serious, I swear." She even threw in a few "you're overreacting," like somehow that would make me doubt what I saw. I didn't buy it, not even close. I told her I knew she lied about the trip, that I'd seen her texts, and that she was messing around with Ryan during our daughter's tournament. Her reaction was priceless. She rolled her eyes, scoffed, and told me I was crazy. Said I was jealous, insecure, and that I was imagining things. That she'd never cheat on me, and that I was controlling for snooping through her phone. She's always been good at turning things around, making herself look innocent when she's caught red-handed. But I was buying her bullshit anymore. I felt a mixture of rage, heartbreak, and disgust. I looked her in the eyes and told her I wanted her to leave. I didn't yell, not yet, but my voice was firm. If I'd had a baseball bat, I probably would have smashed the damn thing over her head just to wake her the hell up. She looked surprised, like she didn't expect me to come out swinging so fast. She started crying, of course, fake tears, probably, and blubbered about how sorry she was, how she never meant for any of this to happen, and how she loved Emily and me. That's when I realized she was just playing the victim, as if her cheating was some kind of mistake she made because she was stressed, or lonely, or whatever excuse she threw out. I told her I didn't want to hear her lies anymore. I told her she's been screwing around with Ryan, and that I had enough. She kept crying, but I was past caring. I wanted her out of my house, out of my life, and I wanted her to understand what she's done. The emotional hit was brutal. I felt numb, like I'd been punched in the gut. I kept thinking about Emily, about how she might find out someday, about the betrayal that's now woven into our family's fabric. I was furious at her, but deep down I was also hurt that I trusted her, that I believed in the life I thought we had. Now, I'm not sure what's real anymore. All I knew was I had to get her out of there, and I had to do it fast before she started spinning more lies or worse, trying to pin this all on me. Getting her out of the house wasn't as simple as telling her to pack her shit and leave. Jennifer is the type who always thinks she's smarter than everyone else, so she started playing her usual games, trying to guilt-trip me or make me doubt myself. She kept crying, saying she loved Emily and me and that she'd never hurt us intentionally. She even threw in some fake apology about how she was just stressed and lonely, and that Ryan was just a distraction, not some big affair. Yeah, right. I didn't buy any of it, I told her. She could pack her things and leave that night. I made it clear I wasn't giving her another chance to lie or manipulate her way back in. I wanted her gone for good this time. She argued, whined, and even accused me of being paranoid, jealous, and controlling. That was the moment I realized she's been living in a fantasy world, convinced she's untouchable. She was trying to turn it around like I was the one at fault for catching her. It was infuriating. While she was packing, I kept an eye on her, more out of anger than anything else. Watching her, I could see her trying to manipulate the situation, but I was done falling for her bullshit. I told her she had to stay away from Ryan, that I was going to handle the situation with the coach and the team's management. I wanted her gone, not just physically, but emotionally. I wanted her to understand she'd crossed a line that could never be erased. She finally left around midnight, clutching her bag, still crying, still pretending to be the victim. As she drove off, I sat on the couch, staring at the empty space where she'd just been. That's when the floodgates opened. All the feelings I'd been trying to suppress, the anger, the betrayal, the heartbreak, hit me full force. I've always been a pretty steady guy, but this shattered me. I kept asking myself how someone I trusted could do this, how she could throw everything away for a quick fuck with some douchebag coach during a family weekend. That night I stayed awake, replaying everything in my head. I questioned every moment. Was I blind? Did I miss signs? I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach 100 times. The worst part was knowing this wasn't just about her messing around. It was about the lies she told, the safe face she put on, and the fact that she was willing to betray her own daughter's trust for some meaningless sex. It made me furious, furious at her and furious at myself for not seeing it coming. But deep down, I knew this was just the start of a long, painful road. I wasn't sure how I was going to pick up the pieces, but I knew I couldn't stay silent anymore. This wasn't just a fling, it was outright betrayal, and I wasn't going to let her get away with it. The days that followed felt like walking through a fog. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat properly. Every time I looked at Emily, I saw her innocent face and wondered if she'd ever understand what her mother had done. Jennifer's betrayal was a punch in the gut, but what hurt even more was how it changed everything overnight. Our life, our family, felt broken and fragile. I kept replaying her lies, her fake tears, and the way she had manipulated me for years. It was like discovering she'd been a stranger all along. I knew I had to do something about the coach, Ryan. The texts I found weren't just harmless flirting, they were outright inappropriate. I couldn't let that slide, especially not with him being a supposed authority figure and a role model. I started digging, calling around to the tournament organizers, the school, the Lacrosse league. I needed to know if there was any official complaint or disciplinary action against him, or if anyone else knew what had been happening. I wanted to make sure he paid for what he'd done. The more I looked into it, the more I realized how deep the rabbit hole went. It turned out Ryan had a reputation not just with us, but with other parents and even some of the players. There were whispers, rumors, stories about him being a player's coach, but also a player's predatory figure. It made me feel sick. How could someone like that be allowed near kids? How had Jennifer not seen it? Or worse, how had she known and still gone along with it? That question haunted me. I wanted to confront her again, but I knew that wouldn't help. She lied her way out of everything so far. I needed proof, something concrete. So I set up a hidden camera near her phone so I could catch her in the act or get some undeniable evidence. The plan was reckless, but I was desperate. If she thought I wasn't watching, maybe she'd slip up again. It was a gamble, but I figured I had nothing to lose at that point. The footage I got was worse than I imagined. Not just a few flirty texts, but her confessing how she wanted Ryan, and how she was planning to meet him. Again, it confirmed everything I suspected. She'd been lying constantly, hiding her affair behind a wall of bullshit. Watching it made my blood boil. I felt like I'd been punched all over again, only this time with a sense of cold fury. How could she do this to me? To Emily? To herself? I knew I had to make a decision. I couldn't keep going like this, pretending everything was fine when it was. I had enough evidence to show her she was caught, but what I wanted most was her to face the reality of what she'd done. I started drafting a plan to confront her again, this time with everything laid out. I wasn't going to be blindsided again. I had to be clear, direct, and unmoving. The trust, if there was any left, was shattered beyond repair. The question was how much damage could be repaired, or if I should just end it all. The pain was almost unbearable, but I knew I couldn't stay silent anymore. If I was going to do this, I was going to do it right. The confrontation I planned was brutal, but I knew I couldn't hold my tongue anymore. I told Jennifer to come to the house, to face me and tell the truth once and for all. I needed her to understand that I had all the proof, the screenshots, the footage, everything. When she arrived, I was already waiting in the living room, my arms crossed, feeling like a volcano ready to erupt. She walked in with that typical bitchy smirk, trying to act like she still had control, like she could talk her way out of it again. She started with her usual bullshit. "You're overreacting. I swear nothing's going on, and you're just jealous because I still look good." Honestly, I was sick of her attitude, sick of her lies. I cut her off and laid out what I knew. I played her the footage, handed her the phone with all the texts, and showed her the evidence. Her face went pale as she realized I wasn't bluffing. She started to sputter, trying to deny everything, saying it was a mistake, that she never meant for it to go this far. But I wasn't buying it. I told her I'd had enough of her lies, that this was the end of the line. I told her I didn't want her back, that she'd broken whatever trust we ever had, and that she needed to leave for good. She started crying again, but this time it was different. It was fake, pathetic, and obvious. She begged me not to do this, said she still loved me, and swore she'd never do it again. I looked her in the eyes and told her her words meant nothing anymore. She was just a manipulator, a liar, a selfish woman who threw everything away for a fuck with Ryan. That's when I realized I was done caring about her feelings. I was hurt, yes, but I was also furious. I wanted her out of my life, out of our daughter's life, and out of my head. I called a friend to come over and help me with her stuff. While she packed, she kept trying to guilt-trip me, telling me I was ruining our family, that she'd change, that she loved Emily too much to leave. That's when I snapped. I told her if she loved Emily, she'd stop lying and cheating, and she'd leave before I threw her out myself. She slammed the door behind her, crying and screaming, but I shut it all out. I felt like I was finally free, or at least, I desperately wanted to believe that. That night I sat alone in the dark, staring at the empty space where she'd been. The house felt colder, emptier, like the walls were closing in on me. I kept thinking about how her betrayal had shattered everything I thought was safe and real. I kept asking myself if I'd made the right decision. Part of me still loved her, but another part knew I couldn't trust her again. Never. And that was the hardest thing to accept. I wasn't sure where this was going, but I knew that my future now was without her. I just needed to clear my head and figure out what was next for me and Emily. The days that followed were some of the hardest in my life. I threw myself into fixing what I could, getting Emily into counseling, sorting out the legal mess, and trying to stabilize the house. Every morning felt like waking up from a nightmare I couldn't escape, but I knew I had to keep going for Emily's sake. She didn't understand everything yet, but I saw the confusion in her eyes, and I promised myself I'd do everything possible to shield her from the fallout. Jennifer's absence changed the dynamic of our home. At first, I felt a strange mix of relief and grief. I was relieved that I no longer had to wonder if she was sneaking around, but I also felt the ache of betrayal, knowing how much I lost. She was the woman I married, the mother of my child, but that woman was gone, replaced by someone I barely recognized. I'd been naive to believe her happy, to think I knew her at all. In the quiet moments, I reflected a lot about trust, love, betrayal, and how fragile the family unit really is. I learned that people can hide things so well, you never see it coming until it's too late. I also learned I was stronger than I thought. I didn't want to be bitter, but I couldn't help feeling angry at her for the pain she caused. Still, I had to accept what was done, learn from it, and move forward, even if that meant starting from scratch. Now I focus on rebuilding my life, slowly but surely. Emily's happiness is the priority, and I've committed to being the parent she needs. I've cut out the toxic person in my life, and I've found some solace in the support of friends and family who remind me that I deserve better. The trust I once had in her is gone, and I know I'll carry this scar forever. But I also know that I refuse to let her betrayal define me. Looking back, I realize how blindsided I was, how much I overlooked, signs that were right in front of me but I didn't want to see. If there's one thing I can tell anyone going through something similar, it's this: don't ignore the red flags. Don't wait until it's too late to see what's really happening. And never, ever let yourself be the one who's left with the pain of betrayal while the other gets away with it. Trust is fragile, and once broken, it's nearly impossible to repair. But life moves on, and sometimes the only way forward is to cut out the toxicity and find a new path. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I'll be okay. I've learned that resilience isn't about never falling, it's about getting back up every time you do. And I will, for Emily and myself. That's all I can do now.